You could give her the world, and she still won't care. That's a hard truth to accept, but it's one every man must face if he wants to stop being forgotten and start being felt. In this video, we're not just talking about attraction, we're peeling back the illusion that effort alone creates love, because it doesn't. You can show up, support her, sacrifice for her, and still be the man she walks away from without looking back. Why? Because women don't fall for what you do. They fall for what they feel in your presence. If you've ever wondered how she could lose interest after everything you gave, if you've ever felt invisible despite showing up fully, you're about to understand why. This isn't about blaming women. It's about reclaiming your clarity as a man. It's about no longer measuring your worth by your effort, but by your impact. So if you're tired of playing by rules that only leave you more confused, more exhausted, and less respected, this is your moment to change the game. Like the video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and let's begin with the first truth. 1. Doing more doesn't make you wanted. Since we were boys, we were taught a simple equation: more effort equals more reward. Push harder, show up earlier, stay later, do more than everyone else, and you'll get noticed. And in many areas of life, that formula works. On the field, in the office, in the classroom, grit is often the currency of respect. But in love, that equation collapses. With women, effort alone doesn't create desire. It doesn't make you more appealing. It doesn't guarantee anything. You can text her every morning, buy her thoughtful gifts, anticipate her needs, and still, she might feel nothing. Not because you're not a good man, but because desire isn't logical. It's not a reward for hard work. Desire is emotional, it's subtle, it's felt, not calculated. It's not built through routine, but through energy, presence, and contrast. You think being consistent shows commitment, but when it's wrapped in constant availability and unfiltered effort, it becomes noise. And noise doesn't stir her. Silence does, space does, stillness does. You think you're showing your love, but what she sees is a man who's trying to earn her. And anything that must be earned too quickly starts to feel less valuable. When you're always there, always doing, always chasing, you erase the very mystery that creates longing. Effort without impact is wasted motion, because you're not being judged by how much you give. You're being felt by how much your presence moves her. She doesn't remember the man who did the most. She remembers the man who made her feel something she couldn't explain. There's a difference between being reliable and being forgettable, between being present and being predictable. And if you keep trying harder, pushing more, over-explaining, over-initiating, you're not building connection, you're broadcasting need, and need repels more than it attracts. You want to matter? Don't try harder. Become harder to forget. Be the man who walks with purpose, not pressure. The man who doesn't need to overcompensate because his presence already speaks enough. That's when she leans in. Not when you're trying to prove yourself, but when she realizes you never needed to. 2. She wants to feel you, not schedule you. At first it seems obvious. Be consistent, be available, be reliable, respond quickly, make time, let her know she can count on you, and to some extent that matters. But what most men overlook is that consistency alone doesn't create desire. It creates comfort. It creates stability. But those things don't make her heart race. They don't leave her lying awake wondering about you. Because what she really wants, what truly pulls her in, isn't your schedule. It's your presence. It's your energy. You think she wants predictability, but predictability only makes her feel safe, not stirred. And while women may settle into safety, they don't fall in love with it. Not at first. Love doesn't begin with calm. It begins with contrast, with a feeling she can't quite name, with a man she can't fully pin down. Desire is born in the space between your presence and your absence, between how fully you show up and how grounded you remain in your own world. She wants to feel your attention, yes, but she also wants to feel your pull away. Not in a cold, manipulative way, but in a way that reminds her, this man has a life. He has movement. He's not orbiting her. He's rooted in himself. That's where the tension lives. That's where curiosity is born. And curiosity is the seed of longing. She wants the emotional ride, not the perfect routine. She doesn't crave your constant replies or your perfectly scheduled affection. She wants to feel you in the unpredictability of real moments. She wants to wonder if this moment will deepen or shift. She wants to feel pulled into your world, not placed at the center of it by default. So no, you don't need to play games. But when every message is instant, every thought is shared, every day revolves around her, you've removed the mystery. She's no longer experiencing you. She's organizing you. And the man who becomes too easy to organize becomes far too easy to forget. Let her feel you, not because you're always there, but because when you are, she knows it means something. Be the man who moves her, not the one she manages. 3. The nice guy is the insurance policy, not the fire. The nice guy means well. He listens, he agrees, he shows up every time she calls. He offers support, patience, kindness, all the things he believes make him different from the men who hurt her. And on the surface, she seems to appreciate him. She smiles, she thanks him. She even tells him he's such a good guy. But deep down, there's something missing, something she can't quite articulate. It's not that she dislikes the nice guy, it's that she doesn't desire him. Because desire doesn't grow from convenience. It grows from contrast, from tension, from a man she can't fully predict or control. The nice guy is always available, always agreeable, always safe. And safe doesn't stir her imagination, it simply cushions her reality. She keeps him around like an emotional insurance policy. He's the one she can count on when things fall apart. But she doesn't crave him. She doesn't fantasize about him, because there's no edge, no mystery, no strength of presence that invites her into something bigger than comfort. He's easy to hold, easy to read, easy to manage, and control, no matter how polite or well-intentioned, quietly kills attraction. She doesn't daydream about being adored without challenge. She dreams of the man who makes her feel something real. A man who listens, yes, but who also disagrees when it matters. A man who is kind, but firm, present, but not dependent. A man who won't betray his values just to avoid upsetting her mood. Because that man, he feels solid. He feels like a force she can't manipulate, and that, more than good manners or sweet gestures, is what builds desire. You weren't born to be her safety net. You weren't meant to wait quietly in the background, hoping your patience turns into passion. You were born to be her standard, the one she measures other men against, the one she must rise to meet. And that transformation doesn't happen by being nice. It happens when you stop trying to win her over and start showing her who you are without needing her approval. That's when she stops seeing you as the backup and starts seeing you as the man she can't forget. 4. Needing her approval is emotional surrender. There's nothing wrong with being emotionally open. In fact, it's a sign of maturity when a man can express his truth, share his intentions, and connect from a place of depth. But somewhere along the way, many men blur the line between emotional availability and emotional dependency. They think they're being vulnerable, when in reality, they're slowly surrendering their sense of self. You tell her how you feel. You check in. You try to be open. But if you find yourself constantly waiting for her reaction, hoping for her approval, needing her reassurance, adjusting your behavior based on her tone, then you're no longer in control of your emotional state. You've handed her the keys to your inner world, and now she has to carry a responsibility that was never meant to be hers. That's not intimacy. That's emotional outsourcing. When a man builds his confidence around a woman's response to him, he creates a dynamic that eventually exhausts her. At first, she may appreciate your sensitivity, but over time, it starts to feel like she's managing your self-worth. Every compliment she gives feels expected. Every cold moment she has becomes your crisis. And what once felt like emotional connection begins to feel like emotional weight. She doesn't want to be your regulator. She doesn't want to decide if you're good enough. She wants to feel your presence, steady, calm, and unshaken by her storms. Not because you don't care, but because you're grounded enough to hold space without needing to be rescued. A man who is rooted in himself doesn't fall apart when she pulls back. He doesn't read into every delay, doesn't spiral when she's distant, and doesn't beg for clarity when things feel uncertain. He allows space. He understands that her shifts are hers, not a reflection of his worth. Because here's the truth most men miss. The more you chase validation, the more you lose the very energy that drew her to you in the first place. Attraction is magnetic because it has gravity. And gravity doesn't plead, it doesn't perform, it simply pulls, quietly, steadily, without needing to be noticed. If you find yourself constantly explaining, over-apologizing, or needing her to say you're good enough just to feel okay, that's your signal. Not to pull away from her, but to pull back into yourself. Reclaim your center, reconnect with your own worth. Because when you trust your value, she feels it. And when she feels it, she respects it. You don't become irresistible by needing her affirmation. You become irresistible when you no longer need it at all. 5. Let her wonder. That's where desire lives. Desire begins in uncertainty, not confusion or chaos, but in the space where not everything is said, not everything is given, and not everything is known. The moment she feels like she fully has you, fully understands you, and fully expects you, something subtle begins to fade. Because when there's nothing left to uncover, there's nothing left to feel pulled toward. You may think you're doing the right thing by being fully transparent, always letting her know where you are, how you feel, what you're thinking, what you're planning. But there's a cost to being constantly accessible and emotionally on call. That cost is mystery. And when discovery ends, desire fades. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's not about being distant or detached. It's about being centered in your life so deeply that she has to lean in to experience it. A man with purpose doesn't have to perform mystery. He lives it, because he's too focused on building something real to be constantly available for reassurance or small talk. And that distance, measured, intentional, respectful, creates tension. She doesn't want to manage you. She wants to discover you. When every layer of you is handed over too early, she no longer needs to lean in. She stops asking questions. She stops wondering, and the emotional momentum that once pulled her toward you stalls. It's not about being cold. It's about being full, so full in your own world, your own direction, that your attention feels earned, not guaranteed. Your purpose has to be bigger than your desire for her. When she sees that your life is moving, with or without her at the center, it wakes something up in her. Curiosity, respect, even awe. And it's in that space, when she's unsure of what you're thinking, of how far you'll let her in, that she begins to feel something powerful. She begins to chase you, not because you're unavailable, but because you're not trying to be consumed. When a woman wonders about you, she starts to want you. not just emotionally, but energetically. She feels pulled toward the questions you don't answer, the strength you don't advertise, the depth you don't overshare. So don't hand yourself over like a map. Be the journey she never quite finishes walking, not to keep her guessing, but to keep her feeling. Because feeling is where connection begins, and wondering is what keeps it alive. 6. Worship is weakness. Challenge is magnetic. It starts with good intentions. You want her to feel valued, adored, seen. So you compliment her constantly. You avoid disagreement. You adjust to her moods. You never push back, never challenge, never say no. You think you're being loving, respectful, emotionally available, but slowly, quietly, you stop being a man in her eyes and start becoming something else. Predictable, software easy to impress, and, eventually, easy to ignore. What feels like love to you begins to feel like flatness to her, because love isn't built from blind worship. It's built from dynamic energy, tension, polarity, emotional movement. The more she feels like she's already won you without effort, the less engaged she becomes. And what started as admiration turns into disinterest. Worship may feel sweet, but it doesn't inspire passion. It invites complacency. When she knows you'll bend at every request, silence every disagreement, and sacrifice your standards just to keep the peace, she doesn't feel closer to you. She feels above you. And the second you place her above you, even subtly, you begin to lose her respect. Attraction isn't about hierarchy, but about presence. A woman doesn't want to be placed on a pedestal she never earned. She wants to stand beside a man who has a spine, a man who can love her deeply, but who still draws the line. A man who will say, calmly and clearly, "That doesn't work for me," even if it risks upsetting the moment. Because that man, he's not trying to win her approval, he already owns his own. He doesn't give away his center for closeness. He brings her into his world with strength and quiet expectation, and that's what pulls her in. She wants to feel your admiration, yes, but more than that, she wants to feel your boundaries. She wants to know that you see her, but you see yourself too, that you value connection, but you won't betray yourself just to maintain it. When you challenge her, not aggressively, but with grounded honesty, you invite her into a deeper level of intimacy, one where she rises to meet your depth, not just your praise. So stop worshipping, start holding the line, because she doesn't want a man who falls at her feet. She wants a man who stands firmly on his own and invites her to do the same. 7. You're useful, but are you desired? You've shown up for her. You've been the one who listens when she breaks down, the one who helps fix what's falling apart. You pay the bills, answer every call, offer steady support, and somewhere in that routine, you begin to believe that makes you safe, that your presence is secured through your usefulness. But here's the quiet truth most men avoid facing. Just because she needs you doesn't mean she wants you. Need and desire live on different planes. One is about survival, the other is about connection. If she only turns to you when her world is crashing, if her affection rises and falls based on crisis, then what you're offering isn't intimacy, it's utility. You become her emotional support system, her fallback plan, her reliable rescue, but not the man who stirs something in her when everything is calm. When she's struggling, you're the one she leans on. But when she's feeling alive, when she wants to feel, to chase, to connect, she starts looking elsewhere. Not because you've done something wrong, but because she doesn't associate you with emotional electricity. She associates you with steadiness, predictability, help. And if she needs you but doesn't want you, you're not in a relationship. You're in a transaction. It's not love that keeps her close, it's dependence. And over time, that creates a slow erosion of passion. You begin to feel it in her tone, in her body language, in the way she thanks you but rarely reaches for you. And inside something aches, because deep down you know you're giving everything and still not being chosen. You weren't born to be her lifeboat. You weren't meant to be the man who helps her survive, but the man who awakens her when she's already whole. The one she wants to share her joy with, not just her breakdowns. That shift happens when you stop measuring your worth by how much she leans on you and start asking yourself, does she look at me like a man she craves, or like a role she depends on? Because what makes you unforgettable isn't how useful you are. It's the feeling she gets when she's around you, when she doesn't need anything, but still wants to be near your presence. So yes, be strong, be supportive, be generous, but don't become the man she needs in crisis. Become the man she reaches for when there's no crisis at all. That's when you know it's real. That's when you know it's desire. Summary. In the end, she doesn't care about what you do for her. You could spend your days trying to impress her, trying to prove your worth through effort, favors, gifts, or carefully planned gestures. And yet none of it will matter if she doesn't feel something when she's with you, because what captures a woman's attention, what holds her, pulls her in, and keeps her coming back, isn't how much you give. It's how you make her feel, not intellectually, not logically, but emotionally. She doesn't replay the checklist of things you've done. She replays the way your energy landed in the room, the calm in your presence, the confidence in your silence, the tension in your eyes when you looked at her and said nothing, but still said everything. That's what sticks. That's what lingers. She's not drawn to a man who seeks love like a reward for effort. She's drawn to a man who doesn't have to ask for it, because the gravity of who he is already commands it. So stop overcompensating. Stop doing just to be noticed. And start becoming a man who moves the room without a word. Not by asking to be loved, but by being the kind of man who's unforgettable even when he leaves it. What spoke to you the most? I'd truly love to know. Drop a comment, share the part that hit home for you, or something you've learned on your own journey. I read every single one, because this isn't just a video, it's a conversation. If something in this stirred your soul, like the video, hit subscribe to Stoic Station, and let's keep walking this path. Toward strength, toward clarity, toward becoming the kind of man who's remembered long after he's gone.